Good afternoon, students. In this session, we are going to learn about how props is used as an object and props is used as data, and finally, how can we perform props validation in ReactJs. So, props are an important mechanism for passing the read-only attributes to React components. Generally, we are going to use the props in both class and functional components and as well as React state also. Now, the props validation is a tool that will help the developers to avoid the future bugs and the problems also. So the React components uses the special property called prop types that helps you to catch the bugs by validating the data types of values that are passed to the props. Yes. Now I quickly open my Visual Studio Code. So here in the first program, I am going to represent the props as data. Here I have taken a function called Sachin, and Sachin hits the first double hundred against. Here I have used props.team. And similarly, the second function name is occurs, and this happens in props.date. Here I have passed the parameter as props, and using this props, I am going to call these attributes, that is date and as well as team also. That is here team, date, and remaining all the data. Now, number of force is also a function. Here also I pass the parameter as props and props dot force. That is the total number of force. Similarly, for function, that is number of sixes. That is the total number of sixes. That is props dot six. And finally, the duration also. So this world record happens in props dot timing. Now, I have defined a function. Let us say my function name is college, and I am going to write a return statement which consists of an HTML code. So a new record, a world record was broken by the god of cricket, that is Sachin Tendulkar. And here I have used Sachin team. Here Sachin is the function name and team is the value name, that is a variable name. So this variable will act as a data for the props. That's why we are going to call it by using the props. So here Sachin team is equal to South Africa, and occurs date is equal to corresponding date, and number of fours, that is total number of fours, and number of sixes, and finally the timing at which time that world record was broken. And finally I am going to define the honest root by using react dom dot, that is create root, and we are going to define the document dot get element by id of root, so in order to display the output. And finally I am going to call the function that is honest. So I am going to save this one, and I am going to highlight the remaining things. Let me run this code. Yes, so let me run this code. So I'm going to clear the screen. Yes, now I'm going to start npm start. Now the server is started with the react scripts. Yes, and here when once the server is loaded, you can clearly see the values that we have passed in props as data. And here you can clearly see that a new world record is broken by god of cricket. Sachin hits the first double hundred against South Africa. So happens in the year, that is date, and as well as total number of fours and six, and also in the over. So this is props as data. Now how can we write props as an object? So let me highlight this one. Yeah, no. And here I'm going to write props as an object. So for this I'm going to define a function called team, and I'm going to pass a parameter as also props. The star players in the team are props.brand.name. Here I have used another variable called brand. Now I'm going to define another function, and let me say my function name is called placement, so that I'm going to select the total number of players in the team, so that the players are termed as props.brand.name. And here you can clearly see that we are going to use the same name for both the functions. And now in the data function, I am going to define certain values. Let me say honest team info. Let me say I'm going to write the names. So here I am going to write it here. So honest team info, course is equal to India, name is equal to, I am going to write the name of the players in the team, that is Sachin, Rohit, Dhoni, and Kohli. And for event info, I am going to define the course name as World Cup, and also the name as God of Cricket, Hitman of Cricket, Captain Cool, and King of Cricket. That is, it is a dictionary, that is a key value pair. And finally, we are going to use the return statement in order to write the HTML code, and this is the JSX code. So the JSX code start here. So all the pairs are ready for the World Cup, and here I have used team brand. That is, brand here is this one, and team is the function name. So team dot brand. Now, so team dot brand is equal. I am going to mention the team info which I have defined as a constant variable. And similarly, placements for brand here I am going to define events info which is as a constant variable. And finally, I am going to use the const root, that is document dot get element by ID. Now I am going to save this one and I am going to recheck. Here you can clearly see that the output is displayed. That is, all the players are ready for the World Cup. Then the star players are so and so, and finally that players are termed as so and so. So this is an example for props as an object. Now, what is a props validation? How can we perform props validation? Let me highlight this one. Oh, yeah. I'm going to highlight the above packages, so it is very useful. So let me say, lastly, I'm going to highlight this one. Now, what is props validation? As I mentioned earlier, we are going to import the prop types from prop type, that is a default package, and then we are going to write a function name with a called apps, that is going to be extend react.component, that is a class component here. And in the class component that I am going to define a function called render with return statement which consists of HTML code. And here in the HTML code I have mentioned ReactJs props validation example, and in this I am going to define a certain table with the tr and td values. In the tr value of first row I am going to define the type, value, and as well as valid. In the second row, I'm going to define the type as valid, that is Boolean data type, string data type, array data type, etc. All these are validated using props validation. Now here I'm going to use this keyword since it is a class component. So this dot props dot prop array, and this dot props dot prop array of true or false, that is the array data type having two values, that is true and false. Similarly, the Boolean also we are going to have two types of values, that is true and false. And for a function, I am going to define two types of values, true and false, and I am going to pass a value as 50, which is going to be incremented while going to call that function. And finally, for a string, I am going to pass the string value from the function. And similarly, for a number, I am going to pass the number, that is prop dot props number. So all these data types are going to be called by using this dot props number. When once the table is closed and also the div tag is closed, I am going to define an key value pair, that is a dictionary, which is called app.prop types. So here I am going to define, if at all any error will occur, it is going to be displayed like this. So it is a perfect example of exception handling in React.js with the help of prop types. So prop types of array is required, boolean is required, function, number, and string. If at all we are not going to pass any types of values, then this exception is going to be raised in the React.js. Now, here in app.default properties, I am going to pass an array of values, and I am going to pass the boolean value, and I am going to call the function, and I am going to return the function with increment of 5, and I am going to pass the number as 200, and I am going to pass the string as Sachin. And finally, const root is equal react dom.create root of document.get element by id of root. I am going to finally render my application, that is app. Now I am going to refresh the code, and here you can clearly see that React.js props validation example. So the types are array, boolean, function, string, and number, and as well as the values which we have passed, and finally validity. So in this way, we can perform the props validation in React.js, and also the props is used as both data as well as object. Thank you.